All right, here we go on this Wednesday. Yes, we are live and we're ready to go. We have a special guest coming up, and we're going to be starting in just 6 minutes. 6 minutes. Yes. Um, let's see. Yeah, I agree with that. Reaction. All right, Gian says audio is good. Okay. We're going to start in 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Yes. I'll actually even touch on that. I will. Yes, I will. Folks, the good weather continues. God is good. Oh, that's exactly right. Okay. And we have a special guest that's going to join as well. So we are going to begin in just a moment. There's Lynn Miller. Yes. Hi there, Pat and Donna. Yep. Of course, we'll be out on Road Patrol Live later. Folks, again, we're going to start in just 3 minutes. Nice short week because of the Labor Day holiday. Yes. Like something like this. Nice short week. There's Harriet Brown, Jane Rice, still the birthday girl. Yes. I didn't know that, Lynn. It's bad luck. It is? I didn't realize that. Bad luck to have your back to the window? I was unaware of that. So, all right, we're going to start. Again, we're live right now on YouTube. We are live on Facebook. And we are also live on, we're going to be live on the radio coming up. Yes. I wonder if I have, do I have time to do that? That's a good question. I don't know. I think so. Very possible. think I can make it happen. I think I can. Let's see if we can make it happen. Okay, and we are going to begin. Well, folks, good afternoon again. What a beautiful day that we have. Again, what a week of weather. What a stretch of weather. Yes, it is the chosen one. Nice short week because of the summer weekend holiday. Less people are calling it Labor Day. And so, and I get that. More people are just starting to call it end of summer holiday. I kind of like that, only because why do we have to give organized labor? Why do we have to give them their own holiday in that way? So we are live on right now, AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. Now we are also live right now as we speak. We're live on Facebook. We're live on our YouTube channel. We're live on X. And then there's easy to listen online at the website, depetro.com. But this portion of the program, I'll tell you, someone I want to share who has just been a loyal supporter of the program. Jane Rice would love it there. PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Folks, look for them. 3688 Quaker Lane in North Kingstown. Excuse me. They grind it. Family-run business. They're open 7 days a week. They are a full-scale nursery. Everything you need to make your home a showstopper. And on top of that, you know, the fall is a great time if you're doing some planting, annuals, perennials, trees and shrubs. So many times as I go by people's property, I think, you know, the only thing their yard could use are some nice small trees and shrubs to give yourself a little privacy. Why not? Or maybe for your next door neighbor or behind you. Why not plant a couple of nice shrubs or trees from PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center? It gives you that, just that little bit of privacy, a little more privacy that you may like. And right now they also have great, delicious summer corn. They have delicious peaches, fresh vegetables. Stop it and see them. PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center, 3688 Quaker Lane. And stop in maybe on the way back still. Some people still go to the beaches, but stop in again. They jam it. They're open 7 days a week, and they have been big supporters of the program. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Well, folks, as always, our website, which I'm going to show you in just a moment, is brought to you by the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. Remember, lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge. Plus, they have a great menu there. Proud sponsors of our website, depetro.com. Maybe you want to try their pork chop or their pierogi, delicious seafood melody, chowder and clam cakes, steamers, surf and turf. They have a great menu. And again, they're open 7 days a week. And the Coesit Inn, I also mentioned, it's the perfect spot for collation lunch. So someone passes away, you have the ceremony. Now, where are you going to go out to lunch? Well, they can handle 20 people. They can handle 30 people. They could handle a group of 50 people. Not a lot of restaurants can. They could handle, I've been at the Coesit Inn, they had 100 people for a collation lunch. I was there one time several years ago. They had 150 people for the collation lunch after the funeral at the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue in West Warwick. Now, I also want to share, folks, when you hear me mention the website, right, depetro.com, and I want to show you how easy it could be. You just log on, And I want to demonstrate as we're going to use more visuals. So there it is, very simple. But see the very top, listen live. And then there's all of our links to social media. We also have the shooting that took place on Felix Street on Labor Day afternoon. Check out DePetro.com. And if you just click that listen live button at the top, you can listen anywhere. And I've had family members listen in the Far East. I have people that actually, I don't talk about it, but listen from all over the world, especially when I was in Ukraine and Poland. I could even listen to the program. But it's all right there at DePetro.com, and you see a lot of the video. Now, I want to touch on, we do have a guest coming up at the bottom half of the hour, and this is going to be a film that I believe is premiering, and it says the Boston premiere of Taken, and I'm going to let we're going to speak with Maureen Steele, who's going to talk about it. It's actually happening in Dedham, right off of 95. When you're going to Boston, you could either take a right and go the expressway, or if you go left, that's 128, 95 North, and then you just take the Dedham exit. A lot of times I would go that way to go to Fenway Park. It's actually a easy way to go see the Red Sox. And then obviously I went past it every day. It's Legacy Place, where the movie theater is there. And I would go by there literally every single day since early April because of the Karen Reed trial. But we're going to talk to the guests coming up at the bottom half of the hour. But one of the things, folks, I want to mention, I saw someone, and I just think from time to time address that you're seeing right now, and I think it's really interesting what President Trump is saying. And many times there are people, Democrat politicians, progressives, where we're kind of conditioned to accept that there's a lot of crime in Baltimore. If you've ever watched The Wire, one of the best television shows ever on HBO, 5 seasons, one of my favorites, the best, but it's Baltimore. And there's even an episode, season actually, of The Wire, where they experiment with a thing called Hamsterdam, where they move all of the drug trafficking to one section of the city. And the crime rate goes down in other parts of the city. Of course, then eventually someone finds out, and then they erode the whole thing. But the experiment actually worked, that it was all contained and no one would be arrested. And then they let healthcare workers go in there, and they were checking people out, and whatever reason. But President Trump talking about going into Chicago. How long have we accepted? Okay, Chicago, over the course of a weekend, will have, it's crazy, 50 shootings, 9 people killed. And over a period of time, we all just start to accept it. And so I think it's very strong that he's making a statement right now. And right now in Washington, D.C., people can walk around at night and walk around in different neighborhoods. And I know that because I have family members that live there. And suddenly now, why not experiment with that in Chicago? So for a full weekend in Chicago, let's see what happens to the crime rate. In D.C., there's no murders. Let's see what would happen in Baltimore. And then conversely, you could say, let's see what would happen in a Providence or Pawtucket. Providence has the most volume. Now, by the way, I also want to mention about the Providence police, because someone had put a comment, because I post so many videos and content about our actions out at night, that I most of the time I ignore the comments. It's actually probably better for people if I ignore the comments. Sometimes, though, if people are not being insulting, then this whole business of I have freedom of speech, you do have freedom of speech. You don't have the freedom to insult. You have freedom of speech on your page. I'm always amused at these people that think they can put any type of insult and somehow hide behind, I have freedom of speech. Well, you're not going to come in and urinate on my rug. So would you allow someone to do that in your living room? The answer is no. So again, some people can comment. I'm very hesitant when people are trying to give unsolicited advice on content, it's kind of a soft spot. Someone that has like 50 followers and they're telling us the type of content we should deliver, as we have just on Facebook almost now 120,000 followers, 15 on the personal page, 102,000. So I'm always hesitant of people of, if you're such a know-it-all, how come you only have 50 followers? I think that's a fair question. But I want to touch on this business of they don't need that many police. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by those on the watching can see Propane Plus. Now, again, look how user-friendly their website is. Heating or cooling, that's propaneplus.com. And you just log on. Look at that. That's available 24/7. Residential, commercial, heating or cooling. And then you just go from there. Now, remember, you can call them in Rhode Island at 401-885-4209 or in Massachusetts, 508-252-3359. It's Propane Plus for all your heating and cooling. You can depend on Propane Plus and online at propaneplus.com. So I always wonder about that. Some people just don't know how to interact, right? You see these people. It's a friend of theirs that gets arrested. I'm the one that films it. You know, you saw me on, I was on national television every single day, the month of May and June, actually twice a day. That's more than anyone else local. And you'll see, why don't you find a job? I have a job. We're full-time. We're full-time media, crime content on all the different platforms. But I saw someone say, oh, the police don't need that many people. I think that's a way. Someone even put a derogatory comment. If the police need that many people, then I think they have the wrong type of police and they should find a new occupation if they're that afraid. And that was last week on Broad Street. And again, I have the video up. And what it actually was an officer calling for backup. But what this is really about, and I'm all when, I don't like when people post comments in ignorance. Look at them, as if they need 4 people and blah, blah. Well, you're missing that. The strategy is to roll in heavy. The strategy is when you have a car stop, and we're there sometimes, and I admit they'll have 3 or 4 go in. What a lot of people, I think, fail, see, to me, that's good policing. You roll in heavy. What's that also doing? There's nothing like, I'm going to use football as the analogy. There's nothing like real-time experience. When the Patriots were the Patriots, and it'd be the fourth quarter, and they would be ahead, 28, 35-7. And people would question why Tom Brady was still out there. It's because there's nothing like real-time getting into motion with his receivers to really work out the timing. And you can't replicate that in practice. So that's why you'd have Brady out there in the fourth quarter. And they're up 35-7. But they're still doing drills because there's nothing like real time. It's one thing they practice it, but it's a real game. And that's whoever, the Dolphins on the other side of the field, and it's 35-7, and the game is in doubt. But especially early in the season, and that's Brady working on his timing, and they're working out plays and making sure that everything runs as smoothly. Well, it's the same thing for the police. Some of the police officers, you don't want their first time, and I've heard this from police, and I agree with the strategy. You don't want the first time that they're going into a very dicey situation for them to be working together. That's why when you have 3 police officers and there's a traffic stop, they're interacting with each other, they're building confidence, they're building communication skills. Then they know when someone is off. You have even if there's 4 cruisers that pull up on a traffic stop, could be a younger rookie officer even, and then you have more seasoned officers. Again, they're working together. They're going through protocol. Maybe one's learning from another. It also has been proven that police can be a deterrent, especially if you have several individuals in a car, right? If there's only one officer or even two in the back seat that may be wanted on outstanding warrants, someone may have a weapon. They may think of pushing it if there's only, one or two, let alone if there's just one. So what does it do? It ensures that things go smoothly. It's real time. This is a real stop. And they're interacting each other. And Providence is one of those places right now. The as much as you're hearing about some of the bigger cities, crime right now in Providence is at an unbelievable all-time low. And so I think I don't like it when people do that, because I also just think it's comments made in ignorance. So better to policing has come a long way. Many times when we're out, we see Providence police diffuse situations. And one of the reasons the situation gets diffused is because you roll in heavy. And then people that are thinking of acting out think twice when they see the number of officers that are there. And I feel that many times they get a bad rap with members of the public that question that. But right now in Washington, D.C., the National Guard is visible and they're a deterrent. And look what's happened. The crime rate has dropped. So, I mean, I don't understand the people that insist on putting, insulting comments when they clearly don't know. I would argue right now that what the Providence police are doing is working, and they should continue to do that. Now, summer is, well, it's not over yet. It's still the summer season, but we're past Labor Day. Folks, maybe you've been thinking of redoing your home. Arch Design Builders. What do they specialize in? Residential design. Give them a call. Set up that meeting with Ed and Roxanne, 401-207-4124. So right now, have you been thinking, let me ask you a question. Have you been thinking of redoing your kitchen? Maybe you want to have the bathrooms redone. Maybe it's you have an unfinished basement or a deck or a special project. Arch Design Builders, Ed and Roxanne, high-end, custom build, customer service. You're going to love dealing with them. Give them a call. Set up that meeting with Roxanne, 401-218-9707, and you'll be very happy. They have people, they start to do one small job for them, and then it leads to another job, and they say, hey, we want to add a deck. Hey, we want to redo the bathrooms. Hey, while you're here, can you do our kitchen? Arch Design Builders, 401-218-9707. Now, conversely, as much as, and I mean it, I do think the police, those of you that follow know that when police do something wrong, we'll call them out. I think Officer Dolan of Pawtucket was a good example of that. And most recently, that member of the Rhode Island State Police who was arrested and charged, that the whole thing of the DUI, and then he's crashing around on the highway, and then he takes off from a DUI stop. I question, does the state police need someone like that? And apparently they came to the conclusion they do not. But by and large, one of the biggest problems, folks, that our law enforcement have right now in our area are the Democrat politicians. And the fact that regardless of what people say, Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee, he instructs, and through his policies, he makes it more challenging for ICE. It's a fact. And my criticism of local media is they let him get away with it. Now, we know McKee, he has limited spots of where he'll go. He'll only go to safe territory. He'll go on Channel 12 and only do the live segment with Kim Kalunian. He'll go on Channel 10. where he'll do a live segment because then the clock is running. No matter how bad it is or good, the clock is running, and he'll go on with Dan Janik. And then he has his radio protectors stationed down the dial. I was there for 10 years. They are absolutely W. McKee RO. And basically, he's given a limited time. He's not going to get the questions are all vetted ahead of time. I was unaware. Someone told me he was on with Van Allen just the other day. Now, notice there's no news that comes out of it because it's all scripted. And then here's a segment, Protect the Governor. It's already been proven. He's given talking points. And then I know the whole thing. Whatever he says, they just, hey, we just ask the questions. They go along with it. But this business, he has sanctuary policies. And I'll say, and I've been saying what other people won't say. Governor McKee, he is protected by his friends down the dial, Pork Boy, right? Matt Allen. Even, Gene interacts with him. And I get the whole thing. Gene's like, hey, I'm just doing my job. But they allow him to misrepresent things to the public. And one of them is the sanctuary policies. Because all McKee has to do is he does these interviews, the governor. He just says, oh, no, we're not a sanctuary state. But they don't question, well, but why do illegals have driving privileges? That's a calling card for a sanctuary state. Why do they have driving privileges? Why would they feel comfortable coming here? And why do you prevent police agencies from working with us? Oh, no, I don't do that. He's a liar. Something else is, I went to the wake for Judge Caprio. I went to the funeral for Judge Caprio. I know the boys very well. I saw, his, Judge Caprio's wife or widow, Joyce Caprio, Mrs. Caprio, the boys. But right now, don't look now. Governor McKee is trying to lean in on the whole thing. I think this is going to be part of his re-election campaign. That, that's why he's got now the thing at the State House, and he was very prominent at the funeral. For someone with 19% approval rating who's scrambling to find an issue, I think the governor feels he has one. He's going to try to wrap himself into, I don't think it's going to work, but into the cloak of the late Judge Caprio. And that's why, the governor is like, oh, he's posting pictures of himself with the family, and we're hosting this at the State House. And McKee is saying, if the judge had lived, he would have voted for me. And even though he passed away, I had his endorsement. But Governor McKee is doing everything in his power to try to summon some goodwill from that. I'm not convinced that it's going to work. But I don't understand how he's allowed to get away with these policies. That's what I'm talking about. Now, I have been talking about, or I was mentioning, that there's a very interesting film that's going to premiere, and it's called Taken. And it's very simple to get to. Even though it says the Boston premiere, it's actually in Legacy Place, which is right in Dedham. So you go 95 north, as I said, or if you're in the Massachusetts area, you're going towards Boston. And then if you take a right, you're on the expressway, 93. But if you stay on 95 north, 128, if you stay on that all the way, you end up in New Hampshire. But you just take the Dedham exit, which then, as I said, I'd go by every day for the Karen Reed trial. And that's where the premiere is going to be happening, Taken. And joining us right now is from the film is Maureen Steele. Maureen, good afternoon, and thanks for taking the time to speak to us on the John DePietro Show.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me on, John.
Tell us about Taken.
Well, this is my partner Ann Vandersteel and I produced this movie, and it really centers around the Rivera family, mother and father, Ruth and Izzy, who have 5 children. And their youngest was 9 months old at the time. They went in for a well child visit, like all of us do, and they were threatened by their pediatrician that if they didn't get the vitamin K shot, which everyone knows you get at birth, and they tell you have to have this shot so your child doesn't bleed out. But I actually asked a nurse when I delivered one of my children, it's such a rare condition, it shouldn't be standard. But anyway, they refused it at the 9-month visit, which is pointless at that point. We already know this child doesn't have a clotting disorder. And it's a perfectly healthy child. He threatened them, said, if you don't get this shot, I'm going to call CPS and say that you're neglecting your children. It's exactly what he did. The father walked out of the room, took his son home, and a few days later, they started getting harassed by CPS and the police, banging on their door, demanding to see all of their children. And they never got served any paperwork. They never had a day in court. They never had a judge, in a hearing that said these children are now wards of the state. And the family moved to Texas. And the state of Massachusetts took it upon themselves to lie and say that they had custody of these kids when it was not true. That's felonious. And the family was arrested with 10 police officers with guns drawn around their home in Texas. All the children were taken. They were hysterical and screaming. And I don't know what that would be like as a parent, to have your children ripped from you like that, and they're freaking out and you can't comfort them. The parents were handcuffed. They were jailed in Texas for 30 days on $2.5 million bail each. There are murderers and rapists that don't get that kind of bail, and there was no charges on them. A misdemeanor charge they get charged with for familial kidnapping. I don't know how two parents can kidnap their own children, but the state lied, and this is what happens all the time. So then they were extradited back to Massachusetts after 30 days. They were jailed again. Mother Ruth was out on $7,500 bail, and it just staggers the imagination to think, how did it go from 2.5 million, now it's 7,500, and the father was charged with $25,000 bail. But why different? They were both charged with familial kidnapping. Why is dad's bail at $25,000 and mom's at $7,500? So this was 7 months ago. This family is still not reunited, and CPS is still involved. They're allowing 1-hour supervised visits for the mother, which is just outrageous. How can you maintain a relationship with your children 1 hour a week? And the thing is this family was a homeschooled family. That none of the children were vaccinated. They all ate organic. Both parents worked from home. This was a very tight family unit, a very happy family unit. And then what happens is, in these situations, you have bail to meet, you're calling all your friends and family trying to get bail so you can get out. You have attorneys to pay for. You're financially destroyed, and then you lose your home, and then you lose your car. And then CPS, who destroyed your life off false allegations, says to the judge, well, Your Honor, we would certainly love to give these kids back, but we can't. They don't even have a home or a car. And it's all they're doing. And if they hadn't interfered, and if that doctor hadn't reported a fallacy, and if CPS in their screening program should have said their parents, they have every right to refuse whatever shot they want. That's the law. They step in and they do this because this is the biggest child trafficking ring in the entire world. That's what we're running here in the United States of America. And Mike Pompeo brought it to President Trump's attention back in 2019 in his trafficking and missing persons report. He reported that the United States foster care system is the #1 supplier of children into the sex trafficking networks. And the United States of America is also the #1 consumer of child sex slavery. So this is what this movie exposes, the Rivera's saga, their ordeal, and sadly it's still not over. This family is still not reunited as I speak to you right now.
So folks, again, it's Maureen Steele. Now, Maureen, how did you get involved with the project?
Sure. We have an organization. It's called American Made Foundation, and we have American Made Action, a 501c3 and a 501c4. And our charter is to expose government corruption and malfeasance. We also have the United Law Coalition under the Department of Government Accountability. So we have lawyers poised with their pen, over 1,000 across the country, and 2 judges came out of retirement to help craft strategy to go after CPS, to go after these judges that are violating the law law, violating people's rights and destroying your unalienable right to parent your own children. So I got involved with this particular case because a friend of mine, Joan Quinn Eastman, who's very well known in the Boston area, she was a broadcaster there for 40 years. She called me one day and said, "You got to hear about this case." So I'm also a writer, and I wrote articles on it immediately to get more attention on this case. And then my partner Ann Vandersteel and I decided we got to do a documentary on this. So that's how it started. So we live in Florida. We flew up there, and we got a VRBO, and we had all the lawyers and everyone over to the house, and we produced an incredible documentary with Izzy, the father, him telling his story. But what's so important is for people to understand that this isn't a one-off. This isn't an extraordinary tale. It is, but it's happening to tens of thousands of families in this country every single day in every single state. And these judges in these lower courts and these family courts are nothing but criminals in black robes. And they strip you of your rights. They're not there to protect your rights. They swear an oath to uphold the Constitution. And as soon as you enter their courtroom, their mission is to strip you of your rights and not uphold the Constitution at all. So that's a crime. That's deprivation of rights under color of law. That's U.S. Code, 1983. And so we're going to be going after all of these people with the United Law Coalition.
Now tell us about, folks, and it's coming up this Sunday night, 6 o'clock, right there in Dedham. Tell us about the screening and where do things stand now? You mentioned Mike Pompeo brought it to the president. Are there any, where do things stand as far as the parents, or where is the travel of it right now? So
the parents, they're still not reunited. This family is still not reunited. In fact, CPS went so far as to tell the parents they couldn't speak to each other. Can you imagine? By what authority can they say that? I mean, this is outrageous behavior that we see with CPS and their 22-year-old, minions that they have working for them, taking authority over a covenant like marriage, between two people and their sacred family bond. So yeah, the family still isn't reunited, and they still have criminal charges being pressed on them, misdemeanor charges of familial kidnapping, whatever that is. That's a new one on me. How do you steal your own kids? Yeah, it's an incredible story, and this family has been incredibly strong through it. But there will be another documentary after this. We'll keep up with this family, and we'll let people know when they get back together and how the court cases play out. And we'll be launching our lawsuit against the players in this case. We were hoping to launch it on the 8th, but I think it's going to be the following week. Will be American Made Action, and the United Law Coalition will be leveling lawsuits against these people.
How can people learn more, get tickets, or I know there's also VIP involved? Where's the information that people can find out about this film Taken?
Sure, it's www.americanmadefoundation.org. It'll be the first page right when you come on there, the trailer for the movie. You can, a link to buy tickets. Tickets must be purchased online. All the money goes to American Made Foundation to help pay for documentaries just like this, to expose these evildoers, and that's exactly what they are. And to make parents aware that it's the Rivera family today, and it could be you tomorrow. So that's where they can buy tickets. And the VIP tickets, you get to, it's a half an hour before the movie, between 6 and 6:30. You get to meet the producers, you get to meet the Rivera family, and ask any questions that you'd like.
Maureen, it sounds very, very interesting. Thanks for taking the time to speak with us, and good luck again, folks, this Sunday night, Taken, and it's Maureen Steele. Maureen, excellent, and thanks for taking the time to be a guest on the show.
Thanks for having me on, John.
All right, folks, there it is. Very odd situation out of Massachusetts. This very odd, as a matter of fact. This portion of the program, and I want to get into, someone had asked me, Kevin contacted me and said, who is that company that I recommend in case, I guess they had some pipes burst at his company, and now they have all, it's like a flood and possible mold. And Kevin, the company that I recommend is ServPro. ServPro of Providence. Call them 401-941-5500. Water damage, fire, mold, smoke damage. ServPro of Providence, call them 401-941-5500. They're fast, they're thorough, they're professional. When disaster strikes, you don't know when disaster is going to strike. Call ServPro today, 401-941-5500, 401-941-5500. Fast, thorough, professional. ServPro of Providence. And obviously, you can find them online. All right. Well, folks, again, good afternoon. That hearing that story, it's pretty frightening. But I think the crime issue that President Trump is really leaning into right now, I think it's an interesting one. And I think it's a winning issue because the Democrat Party is weak on crime. And I wish there was more of an emphasis here in our area, whether it's Governor Maura Healey of Massachusetts. I mean, what an embarrassment. Last year spent $1 billion on, quote, migrants, of putting all these illegals up. And despite what Governor McKee says in some of these friendly settings that he goes into, by and large, the state policy is not one where they cooperate. He signed, Governor McKee right now is operating off an executive order that Chafee signed in 2014 that said, no, you need a court authorized warrant signed. And in other states, ICE doesn't have to do that. And so I agree, Justin Katz and I talk about this with politics this week. It's a matter of time before there's something happens. There's going to be a high profile person who's going to have their life taken in some way, and it's going to be connected to illegals. And there's illegals all over. And I think it's really interesting. Look at how certain states, their elected leaders are stepping forward, and they don't have any plans. They have lame excuses. The worst is that governor of Illinois. Chicago shouldn't be that way. And by the way, I get that with Chicago, it's certain neighborhoods. It's like that in a lot of the cities. But crime is one of those things, and I've talked about this. Progressive Democrats, they believe that one of the things that all of us should have to put up with is you have to tolerate crime. And McKee is no different. But I don't understand why he continues to get such a free pass. He shouldn't get a free pass. So, as I mentioned earlier on the radio show, I mean, as we're waiting, I don't know when, supposedly Helena Foulkes is going to announce she's running for governor. There's no Republican, there's no viable candidate. I'm not talking about novelty. I'm not talking about people that say, look at that, I got 4%. Look at that, I got 3% of the vote. I'm talking about someone that has the ability to run a real campaign. But as we're waiting for that right now, it's tough. It's tough to look for anything positive that's happening. Governor McKee is saying everyone should be excited that URI and Brown are going to play in the new soccer stadium, like as if that means anything to anybody, for the Governor's Cup. And he's all excited that next, coming up in the spring, that the AMP might host some preseason WNBA games. I mean, none of these are things that matter. Watch how the state, once again, it's just a matter of when's the first freeze, and then we're going to have this whole situation of the unhoused and people that say there's no room in the shelter and blah, blah, blah. And like nothing is moving forward. Also, I mean, I always notice when I'm out, but at night, the amount that the state is under construction right now, is it all really necessary? I don't think it's necessary. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by Kids Club on the Pike. Now, remember, it is back to school time. Right now, if you're looking for options for preschool, or they have half and full day programs for preschool, how about before and after school care, transportation, before and after school care, school age children 5 through 12, Kids Club on the Pike. They're located right on Plainfield Pike on the Cranston Johnston line. You can call them 401 443 5336. If you're looking for some different options for childcare, check out Kids Club on the Pike. They have a variety of different options and locations. Kids Club on the Pike. And again, you can call them. I share their social media, 401 443 5336. Well, right now, as I mentioned, as the state, our region of the country, Rhode Island and Massachusetts, continues to be controlled by the progressives. You don't see any business friendly bills going in. You don't see enough support for charter schools. You don't see that. All I see is a lot of kowtowing to the special interest. And right now, Rhode Island and Massachusetts continue to be the states that amplify this message made popular by this Democrat Nebraska state senator. They're going to start chanting this at the Rhode Island State House, and all the progressives are going to start to treat this as their chant. You know, that line of "we need trans people," I don't, that's not what people are talking about. They're talking about, why does it have to involve children? None of this involves, it's not about adults. It's about children. And clearly there's something off. If there's definitely a pattern of many of these mass shootings are connected to someone who's, quote, a trans individual. But the statement, we need trans people, I don't, supposedly this is something that they're going to start to chant at the Rhode Island State House before each session, before they do the Pledge of Allegiance and a prayer, where they're all going to chant this. That's what I've heard is coming for the fall. So I just don't know where that, Massachusetts says we're the top destination for trans people, and Rhode Island follows suit. And McKee and Matos, that's right, and all the progressives. You want, people should be treated fairly in the workplace. If someone goes to purchase a home, they should be treated fairly. Purchase an automobile, plane ticket, banking, all of those things come into play. But I come back to, why does it have to be a target on children? The teachers union in Rhode Island, the teachers unions have specified, this whole business, 11, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, and getting it in their mind, you'd be happy if you switched gender. I think you'd be much happier in another gender, and making it part of the curriculum within the public schools. Why the teachers unions feel so firmly about this, and why is this going to be chanted at the Rhode Island State House by the progressive Democrats? And if you don't participate, well, that makes you a hateful individual. Maybe you're just someone that doesn't want to chant this. Like, why does it have to be an either or? Why does someone have to chant this? It would be comical if it was not. I draw off at there's no conversation locally that why does it have to be forced on children? Why does it have to be forced in schools? Why do the teachers unions, the teachers unions in Rhode Island, why do they insist that the parents should not be involved if a child wants to switch gender? How is that? Shouldn't a parent have the right to know if their child is that unhappy? What are the other alternatives? What are the other alternatives? If you have a 13-year-old boy who claims he's depressed and unhappy, other than trying to encourage him that he'd probably be happier if he switched gender, what are the other alternatives? Maybe, I don't know, exercise, find a hobby, maybe try to guide them into some kind of a sport that they may like or some activity outside of school. Why do they have to go into the gender thing? And at the Rhode Island State House, I mean, it's just they're so powerful in the state. As I mentioned, that Reverend Donald Anderson, no one blinked. No one blinked. In their eyes, it was perfectly normal that a 70-year-old guy starts growing his hair in a ponytail and wearing a dress and starts saying, no, I'm my pronouns are she and her. I'm Donnie. And the Rhode Island Women's Progressive Caucus said, we believe in this so firmly, we're going to make Reverend Anderson the new chair of the Progressive Democrat Party of Rhode Island, the chairperson of the Rhode Island Progressive Women's Caucus is someone that up until 2 years ago had a male gender pronoun. How come we just have to go along with that? I don't understand why we are supposed to, maybe, how come no one can even suggest that, maybe that is a little unusual, right? Maybe, why do we have to, why did he receive a standing ovation at the Rhode Island State House? Why was everyone applauding the courage to grow the hair in a ponytail and then start wearing a dress? Again, I get that you don't want any form of discrimination. You don't want people to feel that they're not welcomed. But what I break off is, where did this come from that across the board, Governor McKee, Gabe Amo, Seth Magaziner, the teachers unions, Tansy, the Progressive Women Caucus, this is the new depiction of courage. Someone that's courageous. They, them deserve to be commended for their courage, right? Serving an inspiration to young children that happiness lies by reversing gender. That will bring you truly happiness. Well, we know who did not. No, it's Donnie. We know who did not find happiness when they switched gender. We saw it. We all got to see it. It was a national story. And now, as a result of it, you have several dead, and it was the school shooter, right? I also take exception with these people of who cares? So insensitive, such a comment. See, this is the end result. This is the end result. When you try to, because this person, according to the manifest, was very unhappy. This person, they, them, was extremely unhappy. So unhappy that they decided to not only end it all, but take out some others on the way out. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. Call them today. Now remember, you want to get on the list to get your garage epoxy. They could epoxy your garage or patio or decorative concrete flooring. Quality Seal coating, maybe get on the list. Get seal coating is fantastic. They do crack filling, pothole repair, line striping. They can fix your parking lot. They can also resurface a tennis court or a pickleball court or a basketball court. Quality asphalt seal coating. But find out about getting your garage epoxy. Get a free estimate. Call Corey, 401-283-9815. Now, you want to get on the list because then the fall is when they do it. As soon as the cold weather comes in, they can't perform it as effectively. 401-283-9815 for quality asphalt seal coating. Well, folks, good afternoon. We will be active with Road Patrol Live later. Again, I didn't mean to. I meant to take him off. I just come back to what I notice is I just don't hear. It seems absent from the conversation. It just seems absent. No one talks about it. I'm not sure anyone's allowed to talk about it, to be honest with you. So, in a lot of the local media, they don't even want to allow anyone that could promote just an alternate view. I think one of the best examples of it, and Justin Katz always mentioned this, is the treatment of Nicole Solis. Nicole, who is just so talented and fantastic, and wanted to find out about the curriculum for her child and how the teachers union went after her so viciously and targeted her and tried to make her an outcast and basically even wanted her arrested and declared war on her and made it so uncomfortable for Nicole and her family. I got to have her on the show. And but the long-lasting damage is she is blacklisted with our local press. They won't cover her no matter what happens. Nicole Solis, if she was invited to the White House to speak, our local media, they'd find an excuse not to cover it. So that's not the type of story. They're told by the unions not to go along with it. They're told by the unions, do not give her any type of coverage. And then it all just goes along with it. So, folks, this portion of the program, and it's brought to, this portion of the program, and it's brought to you by J. Perry Paving. Call them today. Now, remember, if you're related to a veteran, no one has a better package for veterans than J. Perry Paving. 20 years experience, commercial paving, residential paving. J. Perry Paving. Call them for a free estimate. There's the phone number, 401-732-1730. Remember, if you're related to a veteran, no one is better to veterans than J. Perry Paving. They have a great package. Maybe it's for your grandfather, your grandmother, your son, your daughter. J. Perry Paving, 401-732-1730. And again, especially for a veteran, call for a free estimate, J. Perry Paving. And maybe you're thinking of getting your driveway done. Maybe your neighbor is as well. Call them, 401-732. That's right, Jonna. J. Perry Paving. Well, folks, if you're listening to the radio, stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news. Everyone else, we will be out on Road Patrol Live later. Let's see if something breaks with this good weather. This good stretch of weather, by the way, continues. And just repeating, President Trump is talking about going after crime in some of the other large cities, Baltimore, Chicago. I think it's a positive. I think it's a winning issue. And I think it's one that Republicans, I think they should embrace because I think it's a winning issue. So listen, enjoy this Wednesday. We'll see you tonight on Road Patrol Live.